All right, shalom, shalom. This is the brother Michael Ward from GMS Lake Charles Camp coming at you again with another video through the Spirit. But before I do anything, I want to give all praise, honor, and glory unto Yahweh, by Hashem, Yahweh Shai, by Hashem, Krakadash. Double honors to the elders and the apostles of Great Millstone, who strive and taught us this truth, and blessings to you brothers across 4 winds, pushing this 100% truth and sincerity. All right, and the title of this video is going to be called "The Lord Will Show His Power." Because once you go throughout, the scriptures and see the things that the prophet went through, it was not easy. Likewise with us today, we're out here on the highways and byways, chanting the downfall of this kingdom, letting them know what's to come before it actually happens, letting them know that our Lord, Yahweh Shai is soon to make their return, so get right, But once they start seeing, the things that the prophets speak, begins to take place, that's when they're going to be out on the hunt for the prophets, man. That's when they're going to try to, persecute all the prophets, But the Lord is not going to let that happen. He's going to show his true power. Some people, some brothers, might, be persecuted for righteous sake, but the Lord is going to lift them up again, man. So I'm going to start off with this one. This is Jeremiah 30:7. It say, "Alas, for that great day, so that none is like it. It is even the time of Jacob's trouble, but he should be saved out of it." Right, man. Jacob's trouble, that time is coming, man. And when they, get to seeking after the prophets, putting our face up on the billboard, speaking, falsely against us, capturing the prophets, throwing them in prison, we have to know that the Lord is going to save us out of all those things, man. We have to know without a shadow of doubt that the Lord is going to be with us in that time, man. Because we're coming into some evil times, man. But if you haven't been doing the things, that's going to strengthen your spirit, you're going to throw the towel in that time, man. That's why we must, work. Because there's going to come a day where, you're not going to be able to, run to YouTube for the answers, man. You're not going to be able to open your sword, Okay, so I'm supposed to do this in this scenario. No, man. We have to work now. That way we know when the time come upon us that we're good, man. This is 2nd Esdras 16:73. It say, then should they be known who are my chosen, right, man? Because they're going to see the situation. Most people are going to see the situations that the Lord get us out of, man. It might look like there's no way out, man. But the Lord is going to get us through it. The Lord is going to be protecting us in those times, man. The Lord is going to be feeding us in those times, man. When it's a famine of food, the scriptures say, my servant should eat, but ye should be hungry. My servant should drink, but ye should be thirsty. The Lord is going to take care of his man, bro. If it's a famine of food, that means it's food nowhere. But the Lord is going to find a way, to feed his man. It says, and they should be tried as gold in the fire. Right, man, we're going to be tried, with every aspect. We're going to be tried, imagine getting placed in prison, for preaching this word, and you don't see a judge, man. So you don't know when you getting out. They didn't sentence you. You just sitting in there, You got to have that trust in your mind that the Lord is going to come get you out of that situation, You have to know without a doubt that, okay, I'm being tried. It might be a minute, but I know the Lord got me. I know the Lord is going to protect me, man. You have to know that, and ultimately you have to have these scriptures, running through your mind. The scriptures say overcome the evil with the good, and that's what we must do. What's the good? These scriptures, man. We have to replay these scriptures in our inward parts, man, when we are faced with these times, when we are faced with those tough times, man. This is verse 74. It say, "Hear, O ye, my beloved, said the Lord. Behold, the day of trouble is at hand." The day of trouble is coming, So it's not here yet, but it's coming. We have time to, build ourselves up, continue to work, before that day actually comes, to strengthen yourself. It say, "The days of trouble is at hand, but I will deliver you out of the same." Right, man. And if you haven't been studying, reading, doing the things that you need to do, you're not going to know these things, man. So when they throw you in them jams, you're going to throw the towel in, Get the saying, "I wasn't believing it, man. That wasn't me, man. This and that." But nah, bro. Once you put your face up on this YouTube, man, you have made yourself a target, No matter if you go back into the world or not, you still made yourself a target, man. So they're going to come down on you too, But the prophets, the ones that stood stiff, for this word, the Lord is going to get them through those situations. But if they have to be, persecuted, the Lord is going to give them the strength that they need, to endure those things, man. This is Proverbs chapter 3 and verse 5. It say, "Trust in the Lord with all thine heart," which goes into your mind. We have to trust in the Lord, Say if we get, thrown into jail, they not feeding Jake, trying to starve Jake out. You have to trust that the Lord is going to come through, man. You have to know that without a shadow of doubt. It say, "And lean not according to your own understanding." Right. We can't lean according to our own understanding, man. Because if we leave according to our own understanding, we're going to fall every time. Our mind has to be focused and stuck upon Yahweh Bashim Yahushua in that time. It say, verse 6, Proverbs 3 and 6, it say, "In all thy ways acknowledge him, and he should direct thy path." Right, man. And everything we have to acknowledge Yahweh Bashim Yahushua, man. Because it's going to come a time to where we're not going to be able to, be in the comfort zone of our home, man. We're going to have to get out, get out on feet, we're not going to be able to stay in the same place for too long, man, But you have to trust that the Lord is going to direct your steps, and let you know where to go, and not trying to lean, according to your own understanding, man. This is 2 Chronicles 15 and verse 7. It say, "Be ye strong." We have to be strong. "Therefore, and let not your hands be weak." Right, man. Let not our hands be weak. When we are faced with these situations, and they get to running down on Jake, we can't be weak, man. We can't throw the towel in, man. That shows a sign of weak, giving up, man. And that's something we can't do. We are fighting for a purpose. That purpose is the kingdom. Imagine you doing all that work, and just giving up at the end. Imagine how you will feel, man. Just giving up at the end and you're so close. I know how I will feel, I used to feel like that in football, man. Jake would be winning, bro. And your team they start hitting your team in the mouth, man. And then eventually, they give up. No, we can't give up. We have to fight. We have to dig deep. It say, "For your works shall be rewarded." Right, man. We are going to be rewarded, if we endure this thing, man. If we endure these tribulations, man. If we overcome these trials, we're going to be rewarded with that kingdom, that everlasting joy. That's what we're fighting for, man. But we have to endure. The scriptures say, "He that endured to the end, the same should be saved." We have to endure this, man. And the Lord is going to show his power by getting us through these certain situations, man. You know, he's going to have his hand in the mix, man. You know, but you have to believe. You can't doubt. You know, if you doubt, you don't believe. You know, the Lord is going to show his power, man. When these stores get the closing, they get the boarding these stores up, man. You know, and motherfuckers be camping out in the stores, you know, no food nowhere, it's empty. He's going to provide us with food. You know, the Lord could have it to where you hiding, you know, you hiding in the bushes or something, and you got them people martial law in the streets, and he have it to where you invisible, they can't see you, and they pass you right up. You know? Hey, man, the Lord is going to work, man. The Lord is going to work. You know, we just have to continue to do the things that pleases him. You know, that way he can show his power, man. And that way, you know, we be found within that mercy, man. You know, but we have to keep fighting, man. We can't give up. You know, but that was something, you know, that I had to get off my spirit. You know, Lord willing, it was edifying. But with that, I want to give all praise, honor, and glory unto Yahweh, by Hashem Yahushua, by Hashem Kakadash. Double honors to the elders and the apostles, the great millstone, who strive and taught us this truth. Peace, safety, and blessings to your brothers across 4 winds, pushing this truth and sincerity. Until next time, Shalom.